How are you doing? I'm doing, I guess, all right. I guess I'm enjoying creating these videos for you. So I want to first thank you for watching this video. And secondly, I want to congratulate you because you are at a phase that I know and love tremendously well. Now, one of the most enjoying things I've ever had in my life is seeing my daughter actually read words and look up to me and say, I know what I'm doing, or give me that look that I'm really enjoying it. But it all started somewhere. So before you continue watching this video, I want to first say congratulations on reaching this point in time with regards of your child. And secondly, I want to say, have patience. This is a process. I will repeat it. Have patience. Have patience. Have patience. Now, since we're done with that, we are talking about learning how to read, and we're going to start with phonemic awareness. Well, Mr. Gant, what is phonemic awareness? I'm glad you asked. If you read the chart, you will notice that phonemic awareness is understanding phonemes. Phonemes are basically the smallest unit of sound. It's comparable to saying phonemes are to words as individual numerals or numbers are to equations, right? You have to have an understanding of what each letter says before you can put it in a sentence. I'm sorry, I'm getting close. Let me back up. All right, so anyway, understanding phonemes or having phonemic awareness is important for your child because it will create a strong reader. Now, how do you teach it? Well, that's great. I'm glad you asked. Again, because we need to learn about these building blocks of words. And so next time you hear someone say sound it out to a kid, they'll understand where you're coming from. So we're going to move on, and I'm going to show you how to teach it in 3 simple steps. Now, teaching the understanding of teaching reading starting with phonemic awareness is great for your child, and it's really going to take stride when it comes time to read, comes time to writing with correct spelling, and it really helps. So the 3 steps. In step 1, what you want to do is you want to introduce the letter and the letter sound to your child. You want to allow them to know what the letter is that they're looking at and the sound. Stay tuned to the end because I'm going to really have some aha moments. But sorry, Oprah, back to what we're talking about. Step number 2, you want to say the sound and allow your child to associate the letter with that letter sound. All right, so for instance, you say ah, and your child is able to find and associate that sound ah to the letter. This is a fun part because you'll notice that your child really pays attention. I know I'm going crazy with these reallys, but your child really takes an enjoyment for this. When they start understanding some of those sounds, they really, it captivates everything they do. They look, when they understand the sound that's associated with the letter, sometimes you'll read to them and they'll hear that sound and they'll say, oh, that's that letter. And they'll point it out. And this is a great process. It's amazing to see how much those wheels are turning in their head. Now, the 3rd step, I know I'm talking a lot, I'm sorry. The 3rd step is your child will then determine the letter and the letter sound upon seeing it. Now, this, apart from the 2nd step, is the greatest step there is, because your child will actually, you'll walk in the store, or you'll be perusing some type of magazine or something with your child, or reading, and your child will point to the letter and tell you the sound that letter makes. I know, it's breathtaking. It really is. And if you're an emotional parent, it may bring a tear to your eye. If you're not, it still may bring a tear to your eye, because it's amazing to see your child make these strides and steps towards phonemic awareness. Now, what do all these mean? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm going to break it up to you. Now, as you see here, please go to the resources, download and print the letter cards, because this will really help you. And print it on cardstock, something hard, or take it to Staples or somewhere to get it laminated, and so you can have it around a little bit. Now, when introducing the letter, what you want to do is you want to first be in a quiet place with your child so they can hear you and they don't have many distractions. And you're going to take the letter and you're going to show your child the letter and then repeat it. So for instance, they see, like I said earlier, the letter A. Instead of saying this is the letter A, you'll say ah, the phonemic name of the letter, and then you'll point to it, and then you'll ask your child to repeat it. They'll say ah, they'll look at the letter, and then you move on to the next letter. All right. And once they have a mastery of this step, you go to step 2, which is, again, saying the sound and allowing your child to determine the letter. I normally do this with about 3 letters at a time, and I will say the sound. So let's say your child has a, b, and k, right? And so you say the sound b, and your child now has to sort through the letter cards and actually pull b out of the 3. And so now your child is having an understanding of the phonemic sound, the sound of each letter, and so you're able to kind of assess that by just looking at them, being able to determine which letter makes which sound that you create. And so once they have that part, and again, you want to make sure that your child really shows mastery before moving on to a next group of letters. And I'll say more about that in a minute, but you do want to make sure your child has mastery. So once your child does indeed have mastery with step 2, you will move to step 3, and your child will determine both the letter and the letter sound. Now, this part, I do it in a bit of a game in which I face whatever cards we're working on at the time. I face them all down, right? So you have maybe 3 to 5 cards and you're face down. Your child's then going to flip over a card, almost like memory or match, except the memory comes from them. So they flip over a card. Let's say we had the a, the b, and the k, right? And so they flip over their card and they look at the card. And let's say the card was a B. I know I don't have the card in front of me, but you do because you've downloaded the resource already. So they flip over the card and it's B. And then they flip over the card and now they have to say the sound that that letter makes. And if they do it correctly, they get to keep the card because they've kind of earned it, right? It goes to them. And if they get it wrong or incorrect, that's perfectly fine. You'll return the card to yourself and you'll keep moving on with the process. And then when you're finished, you know that you need more help. So you'll just go back to step number 2, where you are saying the sound and your child is determining the letter. If they continue to need help, you go all the way back to step 1, reintroduce the letter. All right, so this is a layered process. You introduce the letter, then you say the letter sound, they determine the letter, and then at the end, they're going to come up with the letter sound and the letter. And again, if they miss at any point, go back. It's perfectly fine. Like I said in the beginning, you need to have patience during this entire process, all right, as a parent. And as you see, patience is a virtue. Don't move on until your child is ready. And you'll know they're ready because they're able to flip over any card and they're able to say the letter sound upon seeing it. And again, this process is amazing. You'll notice that when you're walking, when you're reading, when you're anywhere, everywhere, every word that your child comes across, they're going to say that sound. And it's going to make you feel like the proudest parent in the world because you know that your child is now taking the first steps to reading. Thank you again for joining me on my learning block. Please come back. Keep learning with me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.